Hey everybody, I'm Captain Zeus and welcome back to BP Fun. In today's video, I have a TV show review that I'm going to be going over for the series that just dropped on Amazon over the weekend. Now, there is going to be spoilers I will go over in this review, so spoiler warning for those of you that have not seen it. Now, for future reference, I have not played any of the Fallout games. I'm just going to say that straight off the bat. I did try to play like 3 and 4, the intro parts, never got past the opening sequence, to be honest. But other than that, really have never played the game, so my information in this universe is very minimal. To start things off with the things like I didn't like, well, for one, it felt like, at least in the beginning, that there was a lot of things that just weren't explained about the lore of the world, such as like the Brotherhood, kind of like its origins, like how Mandeville, I don't know, the lady, the antagonist of the series, how she got to where she was in positions of power, how she even lived as long as she did. Like, there was just a lot of things that I felt that weren't explained and that could have expanded my knowledge of the show and make me more into it than how I was, watching it. And honestly, I think that was about it in terms of the cons. Now again, I don't know much about the show, so I do hear that some of the lore is like being twisted and construed a little bit, but from what I've seen, this show was done absolutely masterfully. Now, this is coming from the minds of Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who, if you don't know, did the entire Westworld series and the Reminiscent movie. Jonathan Nolan also wrote the Dark Knight trilogy with his brother Christopher Nolan, so these guys know what they're doing. And honestly, I think doing this with Amazon allowed them a lot more freedom than they would with other studios, because the visuals alone in this series was fantastic. Sure, there was like a bit here and there that wasn't as good, but it wasn't like on MCU level. Like, the visuals in this series was really freaking good. I love the props, the sets, and just I like the fact that they were like there most of the time instead of just using 100% CGI, at least from what I could tell. And even if they were, I couldn't tell, which is the crazy part. Like, the way this was visually done was just crazy. It looked great. It made me want to go actually play a Fallout game. And then we got the soundtrack, which is done by Ramin Djawadi, who seems to be just tied in with anything Jonathan Nolan or anything related to his HBO co-workers, because he did the soundtrack for Three Body Problems, after working with the Game of Thrones creators. So Ramin Djawadi is just absolutely amazing. Love the original soundtrack for it, and the musical score for it was fantastic. I love the 20s or that nuclear shelter era of music. Love Frank Sinatra. Love the Nat King Cole in the intro. I just love that genre of music. It's so good, and I just love listening to it. Honestly, like, the action was really good. There was several storylines that were taking place. I think like 3? There was like 4. There was 4 storylines taking place in this 8-episode series, and it did not seem overwhelming in the least. In actuality, I was craving more, which is a good thing. One of my favorite storylines was with Lucy's brother. This guy, Rico from Hannah Montana, did a fantastic job. Like, I just loved the mystery behind the vault tech's origins, if you will, with these vaults. And I love how it tied into the ghoul. Like, I love how all of these stories tied so well, right? Like, it tied into the ghoul because the ghoul, his wife, was there from day one. Like, she was tied directly into the making of all of this. And I honestly want to know if he actually went into that hibernation cell, or if he actually is just sitting there. Because nobody knows that he's in Vault 31. No one knows that, so he's just gonna be sitting there for quite a while. And then we have, like I mentioned, the ghoul. The ghoul storyline was just awesome. I love that actor. Honestly, he plays certain roles very well, like these freaking awesome anti-hero gunslingers, like those kind of characters he plays very well. Also, in case you didn't know, he voices Cecil in the Invincible series, also on Prime, which took me a little bit to notice. But the ghoul storyline was awesome. I was actually like really interested in the origins of ghouls, which we never got and was a little bit disappointing, but I'm hopeful that we do learn about that eventually. The ghoul and his relationship with all the other ghouls was cool, seeing how he is with just in, I guess, the Fallout community. And I did get confused because I wasn't sure if the timeline was actually 200 years or if it was only like 20 years since they dropped the bombs. It was confusing, right? Because they kept mentioning 200 years. And then when like Lucy meets Maximus, he's like, no, I was there when they dropped the bombs. And I'm like, wait a second, so what's the truth? Only to find out it's the bombs on Shady Sands or whatever the place is, not the actual original bombs. Which, in tying into Maximus, I thought Maximus's character was dope. dope. I didn't expect his voice to be so high pitched, to be honest. It really threw me off, really threw me into a loop, but it honestly fit his character so well because of how naive his character was. I thought that was freaking awesome. Only thing I didn't like was the whole his friend in the army kind of thing. Like, I didn't know what that chick's deal was. She, like, her character I didn't like. I thought she was a throwaway character, like in the beginning, where she was just like, she's the stepping stone to get to Maximus where he wants to be. But then they tried to bring her back later, and honestly, I didn't care for it. Her character was honestly pretty sucky. Actress kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, just kind of just didn't leave a good impression, and kept trying to sound like a guy. Like, she sounded like her voice was intentionally going deep, and that was just like, bro, chill. But I mean, that's just a minor pet peeve thing. It's not like it takes away from the show. It's not as like critical, but I do just overall completely enjoyed this series. I binge watched the whole thing in almost one sitting. I started like late at night, so I watched one episode, then I went and watched the rest of them. But the rating I would give for this show would be probably, I'd say a 9 out of 10. I would probably give the show a 9 out of 10 because of the visuals, the action, and just the cohesive storyline that was very simple to follow. Also, the ending was a big cliffhanger because we have the dad escaping, we have Maximus becoming like the guy in the Brotherhood, Lucy's joining the ghoul to hunt down the dad, and again, Lucy's brother, which I can't remember freaking Rico's character's name, he's in hibernation, he's not in hibernation, it was never revealed, so I have no idea. His character's more intriguing, to be honest, but it sets up a season 2 so well. If this doesn't get a season 2, I'm gonna be freaking upset. And from what I've heard, like, this is gonna tie into the Fallout New Vegas game because he's going to Vegas. From what I've heard, New Vegas is the best Fallout game in the entire series. So as this being the second season, or the plot for the second season, has me extremely intrigued. Maybe they just take parts from each game and add it into each season. I can see this being a 3 to 4 season show, so I'm excited for it. I was skeptical at first because because Jonathan Nolan was like, we didn't do this for the fans. We didn't make this for the fans. And that worries me because as a fan of anything, you want the creators to be making this for you. But I think what he was saying was taken out of context, or maybe not exactly what he intended, because from fans and non-fans of the game series alike, this show was very well done. And if I'm being honest, from what it looks like, this might be the very best video game adaptation we have ever seen, period. Honestly, I don't see any other video game to live action adaptation being done this well and very well received by fans and non-fans of the game alike. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the show, how it compares to the games, because again, I've never played them like that, so I don't know. And if you agree that this is the best video game to live action adaptation. I'm Captain Zeus, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.